good things always get you poor results. Don't spend too much time just doing good, because that isn't enough. You got to do great, excellent, and Olympian level in all things you touch, or delegate it, pass it on, let it be somebody else's responsibility, check in with them, close it, and celebrate any wins.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Visionary Leader Podcast with Jim Robinson. And I am Lori Prust, your co-host.
Hey, let's do this show today, man. I just passed my test today, by the way. I got to give a shout out to me. Passed my contractor's exam, Nevada. We're licensed in Nevada as of today. Another state. We got 18 states. That's where we're at. 18 states, people. We're growing like crazy. Had a long time vision of being in all 50 states with a global reach. And so we are now connected to folks in Philippines. And we're in 18 states. So we're pushing hard. Let's go, man. We got this EOS today, which would be a fun topic to drill into, because we are growing like crazy. And there's a reason you can do that.
There is. Fits so well, Jim, your vision, like you just told us your vision, what it is, and a key part of the EOS, I always say it wrong, Entrepreneurial Operating System. That's a hard one to say.
Yeah, well, it could be a tongue twister.
I'm just going to go with EOS, but for anybody that doesn't know what it is, visionary is such a key role. And you just said, I cast a vision. How long ago was that?
When I wrote that vision, I was probably 5 years into business and still didn't know, that you needed a vision at that time.
Yeah.
And I was being told by one of my first business coaches, Mary Ellen Drummond, by the way, give her a shout out. She's 80-something years old and still around and still helping people get their things together. But just got to have a vision. You got to write what you're supposed to do every day. That's your mission. And then your vision is big picture. What is the grandiose thing of your lifetime? What do you want to achieve? I'm like, holy mackerel, how do I write that? What is that? Yeah. And as a kid, I grew up traveling everywhere. We lived in a lot of states, and I'm just like, man, that was kind of cool. Why can't I just keep serving all those states? And so I think from that was born, I had a vision to just continue to serve all of those states. And my father was a minister. He served in all those states. And I'm like, I'll just follow that footprint, and I'll just keep serving in all these states. And so that was how I founded our vision. It's like, I can impact all of these states. And that's what we're doing.
It is. Do you have the line of sight where you're going? So critical. So
yeah.
For EOS, we're going to talk about, for anybody tuning in, the benefits of it, how it's really going to help, but then things that it just doesn't do. It's not capable of doing, so things that we have to think about outside of this framework. So Jim, can you just, for a refresher for anybody that's joining, how you're using EOS in your business?
So it's based on just having kind of departmentalize your business. That's probably the easiest way to describe it. It means whatever you're good at, right? We're all born with innate abilities. And innate abilities is we're Olympian level at something, one thing. We're really great at something. We're pretty good at a couple of more things. We can survive in a couple of other things. And for me, early in business, I had to discern what that was. I had to figure this out. I know what I'm really good at. I can fix stuff. And so I created an entire business and industry around fixing stuff at a commercial professional level. But you can't do all of those other things. And so for me, I had to make sure I had departments in a very structured way who was getting hired first to relieve my pain points and help us grow. And for me, that's really what it was. It was defining. And for me, we have CEO, visionary, creator, the creative juice, the creative flow, the inspiration. I got to go to the meetings. You got to be on a high. You got to talk about things. You got to inspire more thought, more creativity. You have to have somebody handle finance. Finance is all the money parts of all the moving money parts. I'm good at reading spreadsheets, but not putting them together. And so I literally said, okay, here's who I'm going to go get. And I did that. She's been with me now for 34 years, CFO. And so for me, I can do certain things just like everyone else and our listeners. They can do certain things really, really good. So I say Olympian level, and I got charts around here that tell Olympian level, excellent, great, good, and then poor. Those things that you don't do great, you got to start outsourcing. You can do that fractionally or otherwise, but divide them up into departments. Be defined in what it is. Know that you're doing all of them as you start, but also know which one's getting thrown away. You got to give it to somebody else right away. And that to me was defining an entrepreneurial operating system for my companies 35, 38 years ago. I had to figure that out.
Okay, thank you. So since you're using this operating system, where do you feel like even with it, you still need some additional leadership development? Where have you seen gaps and what did you do?
I would say the gaps were early on is that as the entrepreneur, as the visionary, the CEO, the founder, my creativity also gave me a control mechanism. I didn't want to let things go. That was the hardest part of getting those other departments defined, and then being still putting your finger on the pulse of everything. You have to learn that you have to let it go or there is no grow. Let it go or there is no grow. It's really that simple. Put a phrase together, make it click, make it stick. But you got to have some kind of a way to let things go, because without that, there's no scalability. There's no way I could be in 18 states, starting in San Diego, in a very small area of San Diego, to 18 states later. You got to let some things go. And without having really defined departments to let it go to, that's really the stopgap. So you got to let things go. You have to unlearn some things. You just got to let go of control of everything. And then even with the entrepreneur operating system, the stopgap is how do you inspire each team? For us, we have VPs, we have directors, and inspiring them, they have to be inspirational types. So they got to be leadership level. They gotta be impactful. They got to be influential. They got to be inspirational. They got to be able to sit in those meetings when people come in and they're not having a great day. That meeting still has to be a great meeting because there's people beyond that moment that's counting us being great or Olympian level, accelerating what we are really good at. But that's what the meetings are for. So you got to have leaders that'll do that. It doesn't talk about that. It doesn't talk about having all of the other leaders, all of the other visionaries that must be on the team. There's a lot of them.
So it sounds like you brought in people to fill the gaps in leadership, up-leveling leadership across your company.
Yeah, Howard Schultz said one time, he says, "Be careful when you let the outside in."
Mm.
And that resonated with me because Howard, the founder of Starbucks, of course, many, many years ago in the 70s, and he wrote some good content and he was pretty public about things. And follow him or don't follow him. But early years, I did. And I listened to a couple of his things, and I've always had the belief that we should build our next level, certainly in small businesses, is to build up your next level. Don't hire high level from the outside because you have to be careful. They're bringing a different culture and a different value into a small company that can taint the company. It can mess with things.
Mm.
And so that really stuck with me is be careful letting the outside in. Literally build who you need to be your replacement. If you have core values, which all small businesses are founded on the founders' core values, that's how business is found. Those core values have to trickle through. Everybody has their own core values, but how do you align them? How do you align your team with what the core values of the business and myself, what they are and what they were? That's really the critical piece. And so for me, I've always built from within, promoted from within. I've done the hiring from the outside in, and that it proved to be a tough situation. So it wasn't something that I do today. Everybody on my team, directors and otherwise, they were either directly started here and we've built them and they've been with me for years, or they were a provider of a service that I hired and outsourced, and then they ultimately came to work for me. So they knew my core values coming in right out of the gate. So that's really how we designed it. There's a big stopgap. If you hire high level people, you got high level problems.
Okay. Do you think that the EOS platform helped you introduce the values that you needed? Was there any correlation? So for people who are listening and thinking, I need this EOS platform, did it help you there? Or was it a gap in the operating model?
The operating model, for me, I did that 30 some odd years ago. Finding EOS was just kind of an affirmation of what I've already done. For me to read Traction was, wow, I did it right, based on Wickman's, based on his writings 15 or 20 years after I'd already done it. So it was really, I think organically we figure out you're good at something, you're really good at something, and there's all kinds of things to running a business, and you got to find those other pieces. This is just, him writing a book was an excellent way for anybody that's new, a new founder. This gives you a playbook that you can play by and outsource, do fractional positions, but do what you do well. I coached a business out of, I think it's Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and they were in the business of selling equipment and financing equipment. And their owner had passed away, and then the son took over. The son was really good at analytics, no sales, no people experience. The founder was all people and developed this incredible business. And as I came in as one of their coaches, the discovery is that they're missing the original owner. They were missing that piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
And they had to find it within the team or outsource that. They ultimately did have it on the team. We promoted, we made some changes on their team, and they skyrocketed. They went from 27 million to 40-something million in a year. And so that was an insane turnaround, but you got to make sure you have the excellent person in the excellent role. They got to perform in their excellence. We say Olympian level around here, but you got to be that Olympian. And then that's the place and space you got to play in. The other people got to play in their space, and you got to fill in whatever's missing. But you got to be able to figure that out. Sometimes it takes a business coach to do that. But for me, 30 some odd years ago, I was like, whoa, there's a problem. I'm weak in a lot of areas.
Did you see any of those areas where you're weak or you needed to make change through EOS? Was it a signal or indicator at any point of, you've done a lot, then you picked up the book, but was there anything you shifted and said, that's a nugget?
Not based on that book. I would say no. It was literally an affirmation of what I had been coaching, teaching, and doing. And for me, it was just accelerate each one of those other positions to make sure they're really flourishing. I think in Traction, they talk about, you may be really good just staying in the 8 million range or the 10 million range. They give a number. I don't remember exactly what their description was, but you may be most profitable in that space because you only have the 3 or 4 Olympian level people, and going to 12 million or 15 million is a bad idea, and you may go bankrupt. And that was enlightening because most businesses, you're either growing or dying. And so growing what? And for EOS, it added some clarity to growing what?
Okay.
And for me, clarity was, what is the vision? Is it just to go make money? Great, go do that. For me, it was to impact lives through new experiences and structured education and service. And so mine was really focused on 50 states with a global reach, Canada and Mexico. It's clearly written in my vision. So that's really our focus. Money happens because I'm doing those things, and the revenue keeps going up, and we're proactively managing the assets and the money coming in. So it's to EOS's platform. It's if 8 million is your sweet spot. I was talking to an electrician the other day. He has 8 guys on the team. And he's like, Jim, I'm telling you, when I had 40 guys, it was terrible. I'm miserable. I can't sleep. I'm stressed out. I wasn't making any money. And now in the $4 or $5 million range, he's making a lot of money. It's manageable. He sleeps at night again. And I'm like, that's the Olympian level. You're doing your Olympian level right there. Don't change that. That's really, really magic, as long as you're clear in what you're doing. And so money was his focus. He had to make a certain amount of profit or he didn't feel successful. And I'm like, then that's your win. That's your Olympian level. So it could be 4 or 5 million. there's an abyss, as we draw some diagrams, there's an abyss that is between, say, 3 million and 8 million, and it's a hole. It's a giant hole in the earth, and you fall in it as a small business owner because you haven't figured it all out yet. And so you're spending money because you're making a lot of money, and all of a sudden you realize you have no money. And then you fall into this abyss and you realize that you're trying to control a lot of things and you're not doing it well. And so you fall in this hole. And that's usually when you start saying, geez, I got to go to this conference. I got to go to this class. I got to go do something. I got to go find some people. And you're hiring more that you can't necessarily afford, but you don't have a choice. You have to hire. And so it becomes a real balancing act. And so that's why they say, find your sweet spot, get in there, and then accelerate, put the gas pedal down and just go. And so is it really financial gain? We run a $20-25 million revenue company. We're still growing. It's a symptom of what we do really well. The money isn't our focus. That revenue stream is only growing because we're growing in the very specific areas that we targeted.
So when you put the right people in place and then you think you've got it together, if you had that scenario too, it sounds like, sorry, I'm going to back up a little bit. Was it the company you were just talking about had 40 people and then they brought it down to 8? Was it getting the Olympian people in the right seats that changed it for them?
Yeah, and he believes he has Olympian level now, and he believed he didn't at the 40. But at the 40, and not to critique his business, but in general, if you have 40 people that you just hired because you're taking all the work you can possibly get or all the responsibility you can possibly get, and you're just hiring bodies, I can tell you 40 people are going to create nothing but pain and not gain. There's no gain in that. That's really a pain point. And to his point, Jeff's point was he was not sleeping. He was stressed out, but he hired a lot of people that were not Olympian level. They were survivalists. Survivalists try to do a lot of things and they're not excelling in their profession. In this case, it's an electricians. They were not excelling. So they weren't journeyman level. They were survivalist level. So Monday off because of long weekends, Friday early because they just want to start their weekends. There was all kinds of challenges to that. And they were not career minded. They were survivalist minded. Cool. I say we need thrivalist minded. We have to thrive. We have to find a way to go beyond. And if you have people on your team that are survivalists, I'm not talking about the ones that are committed truly for 7.5 hours or 8 hours a day, truly committed, and they do 100% in that time. I'm not talking about the ones you need for 12 hours a day. You need a mix of all of those. You need 6-hour committed people at their 100%. Just make sure you're hiring people that are at 100%, regardless of the hours worked. So we say it's task-oriented. Task manages the clock. We don't manage the clock. So we don't do things by the clock. If it's 4:00 and I got to run because I got to go pick up my child at school, great. You got to go do that. I get that. But you also have task. And task is really the Olympian level. You just execute on task. The clock doesn't matter at that point.
So it is like I think the EOS model tells you should have these roles. But then it sounds like there's refinement. Okay, I'm going to get these roles. I'm going to get people in the roles. I'm going to do these things. But then it's that leadership and vision and ability within that visionary to say, is this the right person? Is this not the right person? And then to refine it. Does that sound right in terms of the framework? And you've got to be open-minded to refine it, and you might not have the right people. You have the right roles, but not the right people in the roles.
Yeah, for the 100% accurate. That's 100%. And it's your roles because your team starts growing. So let's say finance side. So you got CFOs, top management in that department. Under them, they have anything money related. So procurement's in there, fleet management's in there, HR is in there. And then each one of those departments have other leaders and other managers, supervisors. Mm-hmm. And you got a lot of seats. There's a lot of moving parts.
Yep.
All of those people need to align with what their department head is and contribute to the overall growth of that department. So you set goals for the department. Those goals contribute to the overall vision of the company, but each department has to have that. If you have some weaknesses, you don't have the great performers, certainly not Olympian, but you may have great or good performers. Good performers will provide you a poor result. I'll say that again for our listeners. Good performers will only get you a poor result. It isn't the same. Because you're good at something doesn't mean you get a good result. To get a good result out of performance, you have to perform at great level and you'll get a good result. No one leaves good enough for potentially better.
So how do you balance, for anybody listening, the risk of it feels so safe? I have so much work coming in. I have 25 bodies, a 40 body, whatever. It feels really good to take the risk to go, you know what? They're not the right people for the work for the vision that I have. How do you balance that risk? I'm trying to say this of I now need to reduce this count. That's going to scare the crud out of me. Like, what encouragement do you have for any other visionary out there that's looking at their people and their resources and saying, I'm just settling right now because I have a large number and that's making me feel comfortable, but I know I need to make some big drastic changes. What would you say to them?
Well, one, I could tell you they're probably falsifying their self-talk. They're self-talk and saying, this is excellent. I got all this work. This is amazing. I can tell you they're going to bed at night saying, what am I doing? They're truly struggling and they're not really being self-aware of what their actual struggles are. There's no one ever walked the face of this earth that runs a business on their own. That's the founder and the owner, et cetera, that says, Jesus is amazing. I got all these people and I got all this work. For me, the discovery is we're critical of who we hire. We're equally as critical of who we do business with. Our listeners just almost ran off the road. I'm telling you, we're as critical of who we decide to do business with as who we hire. And that means we're looking for C's that we can help grow into a B level. That means they got to pay their bills. They got to communicate well. There's certain criteria, and we align with our buyers or we get rid of the buyer. And no one that's listening to us right now, especially young entrepreneurs, are not even thinking about that. They're like, what? You got rid of clients? Yeah. I've fired clients that end up hunting us down and say, please take us back. Here's what I know, and here's who you are. We just got voted with a large C store, largest in the world. Yesterday, we were told we're in their top 10, and they wouldn't tell us what our number was. I know what our number is. I'm very confident saying I can go to bed tonight telling you we're at least in the top 5. We're probably their number 1 because they have given us multiple states, and that's not stopping. I suggest we're number 1. This is a group that I fired 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And now a few years later, 4 or 5 years later, they came back saying, here's what we need. Here's what we want. Can you do that? And we deliver on that. So we want to make sure that we're being equally as critical. We want to build really good clients. They want to be good. We want to help them be good. Our CFO and in our department of collection, the accounting department, those assets work directly with their assets to make sure there is a buildup. That if it says 30 days, that's when it's paid. If it's 45 days, that's when it's paid. And we hold them accountable to what is on the contract. So that's a phone call on the 44th day. Hey, it's due tomorrow. I see it hadn't been paid yet. Do you have a projection? There's a very active role in all of that to make sure that you're aligning well with your buyer. I sleep well at night, knowing we align well with who our buyers are. And we are critical of that. When we go through an onboarding process, we say they're a fit or they're not. We evaluate it in the boardroom before we bring them on.
Do you think that EOS helps with that evaluation? I'm not sure. I am learning this framework. Does it give you any kind of tools to say, my ideal?
I don't recall reading any of that.
I don't either so far, but I'm a newbie, so I just wanted to with that.
I don't recall reading any of that. I'm just telling you from experience.
Yeah.
And I can also tell you from experience, I've coached a lot of businesses. I can tell you none of them think that way. And when I kind of put that set out there saying you got to really start aligning, if you have a complete misalignment of your core of who you are as a business, and you go to work with a company that is totally opposite of you, I can tell you conflicts. It's this week. It's going to happen instantly, and that conflict becomes a recovery versus an acceleration process. How can I get better at serving them when I'm just in recovery mode every week? It's terrible. And so I've lived it. I've lived it. And that's why we said, okay, enough's enough. We got to help C's get to B, B's get to A's, or B. Yeah, if you can get aligned with a B, they'll soon be an A. But that means you got to be an A. They'll only grow to what you're doing, what you're offering. They won't grow past you.
Yeah.
So you really have to align.
Sounds like to get maybe newer entrepreneurs to the place where you're at, you need the values, the vision. What are the other core pillars you need to have so that you can walk in confidently to say, yep, nope. What do they need? What are the foundational?
They need to know their purpose. Why did they go into business, right? It's that Olympian thing I talked about earlier on. It's you decided at some point you're an Olympian at something. That Olympian level is most likely what your brand is. It's what your business is. That Olympian level is what you have to excel at. That means you have to continually take best care of your health, best care of your continued education and exposure to new knowledge. That's the only way your Olympian level stays Olympian level. Period. This isn't negotiating. That's the deal. So accelerating it, when you start a business, you're Olympian level, you can be the best forever. This is a conviction. You have to have this conviction that you're the best. You're going to outshine everyone else in the space. And that's a conviction or a calling, and you go to work. You also have to be committed to expanding that. Who else is going to be added to that team as you grow, because you can't do it forever. Stay in your lane, find your Olympian level and get in that lane, accelerate it.
Even if it scares the crap out of you.
It should.
It should. I mean, that's where I could see someone feeling comfortable, but something doesn't seem right in your gut, and you're just afraid to make the big move, whatever that is.
We go even deeper on this because it's very psychological, everything. It's like a golf game. It's all psychological. You're playing against yourself all the time. It's the same thing in business. The psychology of that is it should be a threat to you at some level. It should be, whoa. We call it the imposter syndrome, right? This is widely discussed at this level, that you just feel like you're not worthy of what you're accomplishing. And then you look back and you say, did I truly accomplish this? This is nuts. That's the imposter piece of that. You're like the poser, as some of the kids used to call it, the poser.
I remember.
It's literally, that's a generation thing. That's been a minute. It's literally how are you finding that groove? It should be a little bit of a threat every day. But you use that little bit of a threat or that a little bit of an intimidation to say, this is why I'm going this direction.
Yeah.
I'm using that to drive this other result. And you can still have that imposter thing. You just got to outpace that. That's all it is. We are worthy. We're born feeling unworthy. And you got to grow into that. I am worthy, and this is who I am. You have to matter. That's what we say. You have to matter. You have to be significant in business, but you have to make a statement, and you do that by your action.
So good. There's a lot of value bombs on this. Like, it's just real good stuff.
There's some juice. Hopefully, there's a lot of people paying attention to this because they can certainly grow their business.
Absolutely. So one last thought. When you think about the EOS framework, it definitely seems like you've grown so much since you picked up the book or you heard about it. What kind of businesses do you think benefit most from the framework? Do you have a recommendation?
I don't know of any business that wouldn't benefit from the framework. If you look at the biggest businesses, I'd say Walmart, Amazon, Ford, Chevrolet, GMC, whatever. All of them have the same exact structure. Every business I do business with and coach. And sometimes when you're coaching them, they either have the department that has been weakened or they haven't implemented the department yet. And that becomes some of the weakness. And then understanding financials and some other stuff. But that's usually what it is. And so this framework is applicable to all businesses. It's been founded since, the 1800s. It's been written about 15, 16, 18 years ago because nobody had written it yet. And so now that it's written, use the framework, read the book, read Traction. It's Rocket Fuel. Read them because it's a great framework. All businesses, certainly starting out, need to understand this. You won't have it immediately. That's really important to not feel as though that's the deal.
Right.
You got to be okay being at 100% of who you are and what you do. And you got to be 100% of the stuff that's even a weakness. You still got to play at 100% to make it work. But beyond that, this framework is a perfect structure for all businesses. And all businesses that I do business with are all structured this way. They have the defining roles. Above the CEO is market. So the market is dictating to the CEO's vision. I contribute to CEO magazine, and there's just a few hundred of us. And we do this on a monthly basis. And I can tell you, it interviews and takes content from CFOs and from CEOs. And then they show you a chart. And the CFOs tend to be pessimistic. They don't believe the market's in a good shape. They believe that the recovery is slow. CEOs are polar opposite. CEOs are always optimistic. They think that the market condition is only a slump for today and things will be great tomorrow. So that's the difference in that giant vision casting. As a CEO, you have a responsibility to always believe there's a brighter future. CFOs need to be more conservative. They're watching all the pennies.
Right.
They got to have a little bit more conservative value. And this platform that I contribute to every month tells you exactly what's happening, who the visionaries are, and how things work. It speaks into the EOS platform. It speaks into who's responsible for what task. It's crystal clear your finance department has a certain set of boundaries, certain set of guide rails that they can accelerate through, but they have to stay in those rails.
Yeah.
I have a set of rails I have to deal with. I have to be inspirational. I have to believe tomorrow's a brighter future. Could you imagine if I came in as a pessimist, as a CEO, and I said, team, have a seat. I think the economy's terrible, could collapse at any minute. Have a nice day.
They will
I'm
say,
thinking that's a really bad idea.
Yeah.
So true leadership is you have to be inspirational. You have to see the brighter future beyond what the moment may be. It could be dark right now, but you'll have to see beyond that. CFOs have to see things in a very realistic now time.
Right.
That's a very different. Your operations has to see things in a more optimistic way. Your sales and marketing, good Lord, could you imagine sales and marketing without optimism? They have to take a lot of no's to get to the yeses.
So many.
And so they have to be super positive. And so it's crystal clear what the departments do. EOS gives you a lot of content to this context.
All right. Well, that's about it for our show. I think this has been awesome, Jim. We went deep. We went EOS and then just such good knowledge about your people, Olympian level, so many good nuggets. Perfect.
Yeah, it's be an Olympian, but know that you only got one piece that's Olympian level. You can do some great things, you can do some good things, and you probably do some poor things. Good things always get you poor results. Don't spend too much time just doing good, because that isn't enough. You got to do great, excellent, and Olympian level in all things you touch, or delegate it, pass it on, let it be somebody else's responsibility, check in with them, close it, and celebrate any wins.
All right. Until next time, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.